What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're getting into my Week 2 NFL predictions. So let's dive into it. Let's start out with how I did last week as we get into the first week of the season here. Starting out with the first game on Thursday Night Football, a surprising win for the Lions. I even picked this game with Travis Kelce being out. I thought the Chiefs were going to come out on top, but the Chiefs did fall, so I did lose that one. Statement win for Detroit. Did get the Falcons game right over the Panthers. Good win for Atlanta. I did get the Bengals one wrong for the Browns. Didn't take into consideration the weather in that game and that the Browns have had the Bengals number for the past couple years. So good win for the Browns. A dominant win on that defensive side of the football. Did pick the Jaguars from beating the Colts. I did pick the Vikings to beat the Buccaneers, but Tampa Bay pulled off the big upset. I also picked the Steelers to pull off the upset over the Niners, and boy, was I wrong on that one. The Niners came out swinging, while I thought that they would come out a little bit rusty. It was the opposite. The Steelers were the one that came out rusty. Did pick the Commanders to beat the Cardinals, but they just barely won that one. I was expecting a little bit more of a convincing win from Washington there. I did pick the Baltimore Ravens to beat Houston. That was my lock of the week. Didn't end up going too well there. I did pick the Titans to beat the Saints. That was one of my upsets. The Saints, though, just barely won it. You can't really expect to win if you just score field goals, Titans. That's a disappointing loss. Did pick the Dolphins to beat the Chargers. Shootout game. That one I thought could have went either way, and it almost went either way, but the Dolphins and Tyreek Hill and Tua were able to get the win. Did pick the Eagles to beat the Patriots, but I said it in my video, I wouldn't be too comfortable with the Patriots in this one. The Patriots could win this one. Scrappy team with Bill Belichick. Eagles coming off that Super Bowl loss, but the Eagles did pull off the win, just barely. I picked the Seahawks to beat the Rams, and very frustrating. This was probably my most shocking loss as a Seahawks fan. I know the Rams have had Seattle's number, but I thought Seattle was clearly the better team coming into this one at a lot of points in the game. And then the Rams just came out. They played better. They were the better team here in week 1, and I got to hand it to the Rams. They really beat Seattle. I did pick the Packers to beat the Bears. This one I was flipping on and off of. I switched it on my video. I picked the Bears. I switched it to the Packers. I thought Packers were a team that could pull off the win this week, and they got the win. Jordan Love looked good. The defense looked dominant, and the Bears just did not look good at all. Did pick the Broncos to beat the Raiders, but a classic Broncos loss. Frustrating for Broncos fans, but I still like what I saw from this Broncos offense in that one. So I still believe in Denver, but tough loss. Did pick the Cowboys to beat the Giants. They just absolutely demolished the Giants in that one. Dominant win. Then I picked the Bills to beat the Jets. The Bills had no business losing this game when Aaron Rodgers went down. The Jets were just stunned, and they let Josh Allen let them hang in the game with the turnovers. And the Jets defense dominant, turning over the football, playing amazing. One of the best defenses in the league. So a big win for New York there, even with Aaron Rodgers going down. So, ultimately, on that week, I did end up with an 8-8 record, which is not good. I'm going to be honest. That's just middle of the pack, average. That's not what I want to see on week 1. So, let's see if we can turn things around here in week 2. And this is going to start out here. Okay, so, let's see. Can I reset this? I did that last time and it reset it. No, it didn't. Okay, whatever. So I did this video and it didn't save for some reason. So it's going to be showing these picks already. So I'll just go down here. So I am going to pick the Eagles in this one. You look at this game between these two. I think the Eagles are just clearly the better team here. And the Vikings very much struggled in week 1. Against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This defense for Philadelphia, I think, is going to play well. I think the Vikings offense can take strides this week, but the Eagles defense is one of the best in the league, in my opinion. I think they could play well against Minnesota. And the Eagles offense. I liked what I saw from the Vikings defense. I thought they played decent, but obviously it's against Baker Mayfield. They could have played better. And then now I don't think that they're going to have enough here against this Eagles offense. So I am going to go with Philadelphia here. And then a very exciting game here. We have the Packers versus the Atlanta Falcons. I think this one could go either way, honestly. I could see Green Bay coming out with the win or the Falcons. I think Atlanta's going to really come into this game and try and run the football like they did last week with Bijan Robinson, which can be effective. But honestly, I think the Packers do coming up with the win here. It is in Atlanta, which is tough. But honestly, it really comes down to I trust Jordan Love over Desmond Ridder, and I think that's a big factor in this game. And I really do think that's gonna be the game factor. I think Desmond Ridder at this point is still a game manager type. The Falcons are really trying to run the football. I don't know what I really saw from Desmond Ridder in that game. And the Packers offense looked very effective last week. The Panthers, I think they'll be more effective than that Panthers offense. So I am going to go with the Packers, but I could see this one going either way. I'm excited to see who wins this one. All right, and then we got the Bills versus the Raiders. I'm expecting a big-time bounce-back week from Josh Allen and the Bills. I mean, how could you not? This game's being played at home in Buffalo. The Raiders coming off a big win in week 1, but this is going to be a tough game here. Josh Allen, I think, can learn from his mistakes in this one, play a much cleaner football game, gets a much worse defense here. And I think that the Bills come out on top. Like I said, the Raiders played a solid game, but the Bills' defense, I think, is very similar to Denver, honestly. So Raiders are going to see a similar defense here that they saw in the Broncos, a very good secondary and kind of an average pass rush. I think that's really what you're going to see here for the Raiders and the Bills. I think that they can come out on top from that offense. Josh Allen can play a good game. So I am going to give this one to Buffalo, but if Josh Allen plays like he did last week, the Raiders and Jimmy Garoppolo plays a solid game, I could see the Raiders coming up with the win. But, you got to give it to Buffalo, I think. All right, next up here, we have the Bengals versus the Ravens. And I'm intrigued by this one for sure. The Ravens coming up with a win in week 1 against the Texans, but it came at a cost. They lost J.K. Dobbins. Some of their players got hurt. It's rough for Baltimore on that side. But Lamar Jackson looked pretty good. The Bengals, though, I think that they got that dreaded road game done against the Browns. It's going to be a much better weather game. I picked this team to win the Super Bowl for a reason. Joe Burrow's a phenomenal quarterback. This offense is phenomenal. I think that the Bengals can be better than what we saw in week 1. I think they will be better. So I'm going to give this one to Cincinnati, but it's going to be tough. Next up here, we have the Lions versus the Seahawks. And as much as a Seattle Seahawks fan, I want to give this one to Seattle. But I was thinking about it, but I'm not going to give it to them, I think. I just look at these two tackles out, it seems like, for the Seahawks, and Cross and Lucas. That's just a big blow. I don't trust Forsythe and the other guy coming in. They brought in a 41-year-old tackle here. I just don't trust that for Seattle. I think that the pass rush can get to the Lions. I think that this game is going to be won and lost on the in the trenches for both of these teams, because then you look at the other side of the ball, the pass rush for the Seahawks did not look great, and I think they're going to struggle against this very good Lions O-line. So it's kind of the opposite. I think that it's going to be a struggle there. You look at the cornerbacks for the Seahawks, Devin Witherspoon's coming in. It could be a factor. You look at that kind of group for Seattle. Devin Witherspoon and Tariq, if they can play a really good game, they can cover up these corners. And obviously Jordan Love and Kobe Bryant in the slot. They can cover up these receivers very well. I like that matchup. And then the receivers for the Seahawks, Njigba, Metcalf, Lockett. I like their odds against those Lions and against that Lions secondary that I'm not too hyped up on. I think that they got a pretty easy win in week 1. But this one's tough. I think at Detroit, it's going to be tough. I think the trenches is what's going to get Seattle here with those tackles out, and I can't pick Seattle the way they looked in Week 1. So not going to go with an upset there, but I do think this is going to be closer than a lot of people anticipate. All right, down here we have the Chargers versus the Titans. I am going to give this one to Los Angeles here. I just don't trust Ryan Tannehill's first week performance. This is in Tennessee, so it's going to be a tough game. The Titans crowd is going to be a factor, but I just don't trust Ryan Tannehill from what I saw from week 1. And then Justin Herbert looked very good as well in week 1. He's facing an 0-2 start. I don't think he's going to let that come into fruition. This Chargers offense is going to explode. And as good as this Titans defense, I think, can be, I just don't trust this offense to be able to stay on the field and keep up with the Chargers. So Ryan Tannehill didn't look great in week 1. He's got to shake off some rust. So I'm going to give this one to Chargers. All right, down here we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Bears. The Bears just looked bad in week 1. I'm going to be straight up. The Bears looked bad. Justin Fields did not play great. The O-line played bad against that Packers pass rush. It was not a good performance. Opposite for the Bucs, Baker Mayfield surprised me. This offense played good. This defense played good. And that's going to be a factor here. I think this offense gets an even worse defense here. It's a battle line for the Bucs, but they're going up against a bad D-line for the Bears. So I think that they can handle it. And Baker Mayfield can play a good game like he did last week. That's how I anticipate this game going for Chicago. They got to get back on track. This is a big game. They got to get the win. I just don't see it happening, though. I'm going to give them a loss here. The way they looked, their offense was out of sync. This Bucs defense can play a good game against the Bears, and I think the Bucs win this one at home. All right, now we got the Chiefs versus the Jaguars. I'm going to give this one to Kansas City. I know one's being played in Jacksonville, but it's an interesting one. Travis Kelce is going to be back for this one, and Chris Jones as well. So those are two big factors for the Chiefs that can help them out. The Chiefs' offense has got to be better than what they were in week 1. It wasn't great. I'm going to be straight up. The receivers just did not catch the football right. They had to be better. And the Jaguars, their defense, I didn't like what I saw from them against the Colts. I liked what I saw from Trevor Lawrence in the offense and Calvin Ridley, but the defense did not look great. And I think that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, this is going to be a shootout game, I think. And I'm going to give this one to the Chiefs. I'm just going to trust Patrick Mahomes in a 0-1 start than I am Trevor Lawrence in a 1-0 start, even at Jacksonville. So I'm going to give that one to the Chiefs. All right, now we have an upset of the week here. We have the Texans versus the Colts. I'm going to give this one to Houston. I think that DeMeco Ryans going to get this team ready. It's a different animal that they're playing here in the Colts. Ravens, much more of an experienced football team. The Colts, not as much. I think that they can, get that factor there. And I like the DeMeco Ryans hire. I think an even matchup game, he can get it. Anthony Richardson looked better than C.J. Stroud, but C.J. Stroud was picked above him for a reason. I think it's going to show up in this game. I think the Texas defense is going to be well coached. Ryans is going to use, those big assets that he drafted there. And I think in this AFC South, these two are probably going to split in the season. So I'm going to pick the one where the Texans are at home here in week 2 to get the win. So that's going to be one of my upsets of the week. People don't like that pick, but I'm going to give it to Houston. All right, Niners now against the Rams. And the Rams, they're just going up against a much better defense. Let's just be straight up against the Niners than the Seahawks. It's going to be a little bit more of a tough game for the Rams O-line. It's not going to be a bad pass rush like we saw in Seattle. The Niners are going to chase after Matthew Stafford. I just don't like the Rams on that side of the ball. The Rams played a team that they've had their number in Sean McVay's time there in Los Angeles with Seattle. Now they're playing a team that McVay has very much struggled. against. And it's going to be a rough game, I think, here for Los Angeles. Brock Purdy is going to play well against this Rams defense. And I think the O-line for the Niners should be able to hold Aaron Donald. And I'm going to go with the Niners. Okay, next up we have the Giants versus the Cardinals. I think, even if we saw a more competitive game from Arizona this week, Brian Daboll's going to get this team back ready to go here in week 2 against probably the worst team in the league, worst offense, worst defense, I think. Just very young team. The Cardinals could maybe play it close because it's being played in Arizona, but the Giants, I just can't see a Brian Daboll-led team like that from what we saw last year go down with another embarrassing loss like that. And even if they lose this game by a point, it would be embarrassing to lose to the Cardinals. So they need to win this one. I am going to give it to New York. I think they should be heavy favorites. I don't see the Cardinals winning it. All right, Cowboys, Jets, 2 teams coming off a 1-0 start, but 2 different outlooks right now. Aaron Rodgers obviously out. You hate to see it if you're a New York Jets fan. But if you're a Cowboys fan, this offense looked good. The defense looked even better. What a dominant performance by that defense. It's going to be a defensive battle here between the Cowboys and the Jets. 2 really good defenses, 2 defenses that I think should be on the same tier from what we saw from week 1. But what offense do I trust more? It's going to be the Dallas Cowboys, and I think I trust this Cowboys team just in general more than I do the Jets. Prescott over Wilson, of course, there. It's going to be, I think it could be a low-scoring game here. The Jets may be coming up with a surprising upset, but I'm going to give this one to Dallas. With this one being played in Dallas, it should be a win. All right, Broncos Commanders now. I'm going to give this one to Denver. I think that Russell Wilson and this offense should have another pretty good game. Take some strides forward this week. This big game being played at home. Washington, I'm going to be honest, their defense just did not look as good as I wanted them to against the Cardinals, where I was expecting them to look pretty dominant against that Cardinals offense. We just didn't really see that in week 1. So I have some concerns there. I think the Broncos can win this one. And then the defense for the Broncos, I think that they can get a little bit better this week with that pass rush. It's got to be better against a bad Commanders O-line. So I'm going to give this one to Denver. All right, Dolphins, Patriots, Sunday night football game. I'm excited for this one. I could see Bill Belichick and the Patriots coming up with the win here. I'm not going to give it to them, though. I'm going to give this one to Miami because of what we saw from that Dolphins offense. I think this team is a contender. I just think that the Patriots defense is going to struggle a little bit. They're going to try and keep this team, their offense in this game. But the Dolphins' offense is just so special. I think it's going to be rough, even with this one being played in New England. I'm going to give it to Miami. And not to mention the fact the Dolphins have also had the Patriots number in Bill Belichick's for quite some time now, with Tua especially. All right, we have a big upset pick by People's Regard. 91% of people are picking the Saints in this one. I'm going to be one of the 9% that's going to pick the Panthers. I think this is going to be a slug-out game here on Monday Night Football between these two. I don't trust either of these offenses particularly, but I'm going to give it to Carolina with this one being played at home. This just feels like an upset to me with Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young's going to take some strides this week, not make those stupid interceptions that he did. That was just really college days, interceptions where he's expecting that safety to be way deep. It's the NFL, buddy. Jesse Bates is going to be right there to pick those off. And yeah, I think those were 2, just college SEC type throws that Bryce Young thought that there shouldn't be a safety there, and obviously there was. So he's got to be better in that aspect, but I think he played a good game. I think Frank Wright and the coaching's got to be better here in Carolina. It wasn't great. They had some penalties. They need to clean those things up. The Saints, I don't think, are a well-coached team either, though. So I'm really shocked that a lot of people are picking the Saints in this one. I think the Panthers can be the better team at home. And the defense for the Panthers, I think, is better than that Saints defense, and that's going to be a factor. So I'm going to go with Carolina in this one at home. They should get the win, I think. I think they honestly, I would favor them in this game. It's not just an upset by me. All right, Steelers against the Browns now. I'm going to go with another upset pick here. Am I trusting Mike Tomlin and the Steelers a little bit too much? Maybe I am. It's rough, though, because I just can't see the Browns beating the Steelers twice in one season. At least this one's the first game of those two, and it's being played in Pittsburgh. So this Pittsburgh crowd's got to help out the Steelers team here. The defense for the Steelers, they've got to be better. I think that they're going to clean some things up with Mike Tomlin. They're playing a Watson-led offense that didn't look great last week. Nick Chubb's going to try and run the football. The Steelers, I think, can play a lot better there. And then the offense for the Steelers, they've got to be better. It's going to be rough sledding against a very good Browns defense, but I think Kenny Pickett could play much better than what we saw last week. I'm going to trust Mike Tomlin in this game. This is going to be a classic Browns-Steelers slug-it-out type game here, and I think the Steelers can even out those two records. That's going to be an upset, though. I'm not too confident in this game, though. I can see this one going either way. All right, so those are my picks there. We need a much better week from last week where we went 8-8. Can we get it? Hopefully. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Hopefully you all enjoyed the content. Comment down below your week 2 picks. Anyway, guys, peace out.